we're hoping that we will get some of that time. We're looking in this study at even a point of use devices under the sink that would be installed on all of our customers' homes. And it could actually be a way to go for future drinking water standards too, because that reverse osmosis system can remove all the constituents that will likely be regulated in the future. So while expensive, it could be the long way to go. Treating the 1 to 4 gallons you use for ingesting and cooking instead of all the water that we serve through the pipes that go out to your lawn and down your toilet makes a whole lot of sense. And it would be a big culture shift for our customers to know that this is the tap they get the drinking water from and not the other taps. And it could only be used for things that aren't a problem to bathe in the water. Obviously, you still have to serve water that you can bathe in and all that. But for these minute risks and contaminants in minute levels, if they want to regulate it to that level, it may be the way to go. But right now, under state law, they don't allow you to use it for compliance. So that would require some legislation. This would be a way that we would consolidate. Our well sites are too small, many of them, for putting treatment plants on. So we'd have to find land, build the treatment plant here, put pipes in the ground to get the water to the treatment plant. That means tearing up the streets. That drives the costs way up. Everyone's going to hate us because we're tearing up the streets to put these pipes in. So this would be one approach. We're looking at, hopefully, a different approach where we don't have to do that. But it is, and we're also looking at Colorado River water, surface water, direct treatment of Colorado River water into the system. 33 million people are already doing it. And that might be a cost-effective approach that we're looking at. So this is the discussion time, question time. I've got a few primer questions up there that we get, like the milky appearance. Why is my water milky? And if you've watched that glass, it'll clear up from the bottom to the top. That's air. And our water is served to you pressurized, so air is in solution. When you relieve the pressure by opening the faucet, it comes out of solution, just like a soda can. You open it and the carbon dioxide comes out of solution, it fizzes. That's what you see there. It's just air. Get a little medicinal taste, kind of a little metallic. What is that? It's the chlorine, small amount of chlorine that we add. About 50% of the people can taste it at that level, 50% can't. It's all yours if you have any questions. I see one already.
Turned on? Yes. Okay, you mentioned earlier about swimming pool water not going into the sewer.
Yes.
So the disposal of it in the storm drains is okay?
Yeah, in fact, you can go to your city and get a permit. It's like a $5 permit. Some cities require permits, some don't. And what they want to make sure is that you let the chlorine dissipate in the pool before you pump it out into the street. And they may say you got to do it at nighttime or something like that because they don't want it flooding. But as long as that chlorine dissipates, then when it goes out into the environment, if it were to reach a river or a stream where fish are there, it wouldn't harm them. That's why, so yeah, it doesn't, that is an approved way to deal with the swimming pool water. Yep. Yes?
My mother lived in a part of Florida where homeowners were mandated to use recycled water in their yards. It seems a waste to remove chloramine and arsenic from water that you're using to water the garden.
Yeah, and that's something we're looking at. Right now, the regulators are very resistant to that point of use approach. They're concerned, what if someone got up in the middle of the night and used their bathroom faucet instead of the other? It would take education. You'd have to educate the people in your home. It is a culture shift, but...
I think these were hoses outside.
Okay, for recycled water. Well, we have recycled water to our systems. We have a lot of big turf users here in the valley. So it's a great place. We can really efficiently send recycled water to these big users. So it's really unlikely that we'll need to send it to existing homes, but new home developments will be built with recycled water systems in serving the outside areas. Yes?
And no oil down the drain, is that vegetable oils like olive oil?
Oils that coagulate, like if you were to let that sit in your pan after you fry up the tortillas, that's something you'll want to render it. Because when it cools, it coagulates, and we don't want that to coagulate in the pipes.
But olive oil is okay?
Yeah. Mostly it would be okay, but it would probably be good to put it in the same coffee can. Yeah. Sorry, I had a question back there. Yes.
I'm from New York, and I've never seen so much white crust around all the faucets out here.
Yes.
What is it, and why is it, and can we get rid of it?
You know, New York City, it's amazing. You think, oh, well, you know, they've got all these industrial, and such a big city and everything, it has some of the best water. It flows off of a natural source, surface water runoff. In fact, they don't even have to filter it for many years. It wasn't even disinfected. It would flow off that watershed and into the system. So not much time for the minerals to dissolve in the water. So here, we're using groundwater. It's been down there for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So more time for the minerals, for it to do its dissolving. So we have those minerals. The calcium, the magnesium is primarily what you're seeing. Calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate. And it is also what coats the inside of your pipes. And it doesn't clog your pipes, but it puts a nice film on that, which makes those pipes last. It also leaves spots on your fixtures and your shower doors and those things. But it's calcium and magnesium carbonate. No, you don't need to filter it. People that call, they usually have that question about, well, it's leaving a mess everywhere, you know. And I guess you have to weigh that, because when you do soften the water, softening is an ion exchange process. You're replacing the calcium and magnesium with sodium ions in that case. So you've got to weigh, is that aesthetic important enough to install a softening facility? Just remember, if you're serving that softened water through your home plumbing system, you are then going to make the water more aggressive, and it will begin to dissolve that calcium in the inside of your pipes. And eventually, with enough time, it could start dissolving your pipe material. I think that one was first.
Is the 518 million cost going to be shared by all cities equally, regardless of whether they have a high level or a low level of the chromium-6?
Good question. We've done, you know, when I started 25 years ago, we had 22 water systems, 22 little water systems in that area that is now served by one water system. So consolidating the systems provides better reliability, very important. So we have a more reliable water system because it's all interconnected. We can supply water from Cathedral City to Thermal and the other way too. So when we have a mainline break in Cathedral City that requires a $5 million fix, everyone shares in that cost. So when we have treatment plants in Ranch Mirage or maybe some La Quinta, everybody's going to share in the cost. And it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. It'll help keep the cost down for all, rather than having an extreme difference in rates. However, you know, who knows? There are different ways we could do the cost modeling. And, you know, we could do different rate structures, but that'll be for our board to decide when the time comes. And, you know, once we develop our plan, we're going to have outreach to our stakeholders, our customers. So there'll be opportunity for input on the process. Yes?
Talking about cost, we just bought a new home, and it came with a
We bought a new home. It came with a reverse osmosis system. I have no idea what it cost to install it, but that just was part of our price. The fellow who came to service it said he'd charge us about $200 every other year, and I'd rather pay $200 every other year than $50 a month.
Good point. Good point. And it's about $300. You can get it at a warehouse store. Put it under the counter. Once a year, change the membranes out for about $120. You know, it wouldn't just be the homes. It would be all the public drinking fountains, all the schools. So you're talking about a lot of units. But when you start talking the numbers we're talking about just for this rule, it starts to make sense. And then reverse osmosis, very tight membrane that you're pressurizing the water and it's removing all the ions, calcium and sodium and chloride. Almost just H2O comes out on the other side. So vanadium, strontium, molybdenum all occur naturally in our groundwater. And it's not regulated currently, but we're currently monitoring for them. We're in that phase of monitoring for these unregulated contaminants that include those ones that may be 10 years from now, the next chromium. So that reverse osmosis system would take care of all those things. So it may make a lot of sense. Sounds like you're set for the future. I had a question in the back there.
Since this was done by the state government, can the federal government get involved to reverse the process and let us have a 5-year wait? And will our signing the letters help at all?
Okay, federally, no. The state can do whatever they want, as long as it's at least as stringent as the federal law. So the state can come out with a new chromium standard that's lower than the federal government would ever do, and they don't have to give us time to comply. Will letters make a difference? Well, we will need the legislators to support any change. We tried it in the regulation. We were very active. You can go online and see our letter. We evaluated this rule. We suggested they fix this 2 years ago, and they didn't. They said they can't do it regulatorily, but under state, they can do it. The legislators can adopt a statute that would require the state to give us the 5-year to comply. So legislators need to hear about it. And whether it's this rule or a future one, it's the right thing to do. We should be given time to comply with new regulations. It just makes sense. Follow up?
Even with that said, are you still going ahead and charging people starting on July 1st the $50?
No, we're not going to charge anyone July 1st the $50. So first we're going to complete this compliance plan, and it's due to be completed in December to identify the most cost-effective way to comply with this rule. And next year, when we're going through the budget process, we'll have a lot of input. We'll know what it takes. We'll have a refined plan and costs, and that's when we'll start talking about how we're going to pay for it. So, and it's likely going to occur incrementally over time. We can't run out there and install $500 million of facilities. There's environmental planning. In California, I mean, to think, we got to go through we got to assess the environmental impacts. It takes years to do all that. To think that, here's the new law, comply with it right away. In California, it just doesn't make sense.
I have a question. Like LA, DWP, and all the water districts in Los Angeles with the Colorado River water, do they have these same issues that the Coachella Valley is having?
No. They use mostly surface water, either from the State Water Project or the Colorado River water system, and those have low levels or non-detectable levels of chromium. They have a few scattered, like rural areas that they serve, kind of in the eastern north LA area. Lancaster Metropolitan has a few in those areas, and some of those have some wells that might be impacted, but they're just a fraction of the services that they provide.
So in essence, Coachella Valley being a small, comparably small water district is sort of fighting this battle by themselves?
Good question. We are the largest public water system in California impacted by this rule. We have the most wells impacted, but we're not fighting it by ourselves. You know, Indio and Coachella were also involved in the input process. City of Watsonville's been very active in Northern California. But how many of the big water agencies were involved? You know, they were there, you know, they provided the comments, but certainly we were carrying a big burden. And we worked with the water associations, the Association of California Water Agencies, the Association of Water Works for the national, all helped in evaluating the state's rule, providing comments on it. So we weren't by ourselves.
Other question?
Great. Well, we're about 1 hour. 1 hour. Did we get everything? Yep. Okay. Good. Well, thank you again. Yep.